You're listening to Traumedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. I'm Nancy Norton. I am a comedian, a former nurse, and a keynote speaker about the power of humor. And this is part 2 with Rohini Kanniganti. If you haven't heard part 1, we reference part 1 a little bit. Probably be helpful to listen to part 1, but you can also just listen to part 2. We are going to talk about some of her practical suggestions on cultivating joy. This episode is very peaceful. I think I might listen to this before I go to bed. I love Rohini's voice. It's very soothing. She reads some poetry. There's so many ways to express ourselves, moving from a place of trauma into a place of okayness, and in fact, into thriving and into creativity. Like I always say, I hope this podcast helps heal you as much as it's helping me. And again, thank you, the listener, for being a co-healer on this journey. Let's keep laughing. Let's keep raising the frequency. If you want to come out to a comedy show, go to nancynorton.tv and go to the page where it has upcoming shows. It'll take you to my link tree, and there's a whole bunch of shows coming up. So maybe I'll see you there. Enjoy this episode with Rohini Kanniganti, part 2. Oh, welcome to Traumedy. It is part 2 with Rohini Kanniganti, MD, and so much more. What did you say you also go by?
I said MAMA. Yes, I also have an MSPH, which is a Master of Science in Public Health, and a Hospice Medical Director certification, because I am a board-certified family physician working in integrative psychiatry and hospice and palliative care.
Wonderful.
And being a bridge between all of these worlds.
All of these worlds.
Yeah.
And
bringing science and the sacred together.
Science, sacred, and can we add a little dose of silly? Because I thought you heard I heard you say something like, I also am known by monkey something. I thought you said something about that.
It's a really, really dumb old joke. I don't know. I don't know when I first said it, but somebody saying, can I call you Rohini Kanniganti? And I said, you can also call me monkey, donkey, and pig, or whatever you like. I'll answer. And it was really funny because I was having some dental surgery. I had right on my front tooth where I had to have an implant. And after my surgery, I had anesthesia. The surgeon told me later, the dental surgeon, that later that night she said, well, I bent over you and I said, is your name Rohini Kanniganti? And you said, you can call me monkey, donkey, pig. I'll answer to anything. So even in a completely unconscious kind of not quite with it state.
Your muses were present.
Yeah. The silly was present.
Yeah. And I feel like as a comedian,
yes,
what I tell people, because sometimes people will look at me, because as a nurse, I was pretty serious. I took my job very seriously. I had a lot of anxiety. I was so afraid of causing harm.
Yep, of making mistakes.
And it was my ADHD brain, and I was trying to keep it all together. And I remember telling my mom when I went to, I'm a 5th generation nurse, so I told my mom, I'm like, I'm so afraid that, what if I caused harm or worst case scenario, killed someone? And my mother said, and I quote, oh, Nancy, it takes a lot to kill someone. So that's actually helpful. It was. That's when I went to nurse. So I said, okay. So I thought it, and I believed her, and she was right. As far as I know, I didn't cause anyone's premature death, and I think I helped. I do know I helped people, and I did help people through the dying process. And I know we're going to talk about this poem. That's something.
There's so much more.
There's so much more.
And can I interject right there about being nervous? Because I am as well as a physician. There's always this cautious nervousness behind. And when I was going through residency training in family medicine, my faculty, my program director said to me, we so much prefer people who are anxious going through this program than someone who is overconfident and thinks they know something. those are the people that are going to cause harm. Not that,
we want a healthy amount. We don't want to be
do.
so anxious that our frontal lobe is offline. Because I had those moments a few times where, frozen.
Right.
But we want to have a healthy amount of humility for sure. And I mean, I think I will say this. One thing we were just talking about too, gosh, there's so many things, and I know we're going to get to this poem. Also, in part 1, there's a question that came up for me just as you were talking about going under surgery, and I remembered you talking about your LEAP procedure and doing the lion when you were face your fears with a lion energy.
Yes.
But I didn't give you a chance to share, did everything turn out okay? Or did you have to deal with a cancer diagnosis?
I didn't.
So, but it helped you in that limbo land. And who knows, I do believe, and as a hospice and healer, I do believe in our cellular power, when we feel our sense of empowerment and our cells feel it. And have you seen, this is not on the agenda, have you seen any miraculous healings? Or anyone that's, maybe by the time they get to hospice, they're surrendered. I don't know.
It's hard to know because plenty of people graduate off of hospice. We take them off meds, a bunch of their meds, and suddenly they feel better. Not that people, should do that willy-nilly because they might be on them, and plenty of people are, from the care and the love of that hospice team, actually improve. And they're not going to die within 6 months, but they have longer to live. And I consider these everyday miracles of love.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. The attachment and attunement that I talked about that are the antidotes to trauma and to shame. They're deep healers all on their own. And of course, then you put a team of people together who are coming to offer you that.
Gosh, anyone would be so lucky to have you as I'm seeing, this way I look at it. I have been a hospice nurse, not under the company or that name, but I definitely help people through the end stage and dying process. And I've been there, I've been present, and we're not there to fix it, but to add to the quality of life and that phase. And that's what we're all doing. I mean, we're all terminal. I mean, life is in this incarnation is finite in this body. I am.
Let's just stay on the subject of magic and miracles and all of that, because I have seen them, but not in the way that we might expect. Okay, so let me give you a couple of examples that when people's feelings are really heard and they felt, and family system feels loved and held, people start laughing. People make jokes that are, that you wouldn't think would be allowed in a somber situation where, mom or grandma or dad or brother are dying. But this is exactly the power of presence and of love, that this is the and process. The stuff's happening, the loss and the grief, the dying, it's happening, and there's a bubbling up of energy.
Yeah.
That makes people want to laugh together or share sweetness and tenderness. So much energy can be released. By the way, if you have a chance and you're listening, one of my all-time favorite TED Talks is Jeffrey Warburton from the Brighton TEDx, The Adventure of Grief. I watched this over and over and over again.
I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, please do.
So look down below the show and see it. And I'm going to watch it. I'm excited to see it.
And I think that truly being present with everything that there is creates miracles. So, I've had patients in the next room over and at the inpatient, care centers. And they're lingering and lingering and lingering at the end of life, like hanging on by a thread. Families wondering, why is she not dying? Why is she not letting go? We're ready. And then I go to the next room over, have a family meeting, and Joe, who hasn't expressed his anger yet, right, about something, can speak to it and find his tears. And all of a sudden, she who cannot hear this process releases. These are amazing things. When I
got a truth chill for that.
Here's more truth chill. I said, what are things people really need to hear at the end of their life? Not that this is for everybody, but I was given 5 things that, at a very pragmatic level, I had heard. And I had heard in different ways, but I started to use these as a combination of 5 mantras, which is, I love you. Thank you for being my mom, dad, brother, sister, friend. It's okay for you to let go. It's okay for you to go. Sorry. Simpler.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you. It's okay for you to go. I'm going to be okay. We're going to look after each other. That 5th one, bing, bing, bing. And it's interesting that I don't, for me, that nobody said, oh, you need to talk about forgiveness at the end. It may be important during all of these, if the person is more awake and to talk about all of these things, but at the very end stages. And I was on the phone with my dad. He was on the ventilator, unconscious. And I asked my aunt that I wanted to speak to him anyway, because even when somebody's unconscious, they're still able to hear and receive, maybe and not in ways. Maybe it's in a vibrational sense. I said this, my sister said it, and then he released. He was in India.
I believe you 100%.
And yeah.
Can I share something about my dad?
Please.
And it was the biggest gift he ever gave me, was waiting for me to come home.
Yeah.
And
miracle.
He and I know he fought so hard. It was like he was huffing and puffing, like running a marathon, for so long. And I was taking care of a client. I did private duty nursing, and this family hadn't had a vacation in forever. And I said, I'll stay 24/7 with him for the weekend.
Wow.
And they called me on Friday and said, we're taking Dad off dialysis, and he will not live more than 72 hours. And I was like, wait, I can't go, So I talked to my dad, and I said, I'll be there Monday, Dad. And, so
I hear your tears, love.
I know. It was beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And because I was just thinking this, like, my dad I think he treated me like he wanted to be treated, which was, he kind of liked to be left alone. And I really needed a lot. And I didn't get, I never felt like he was too curious about me, and I didn't always feel valued. But this was, he waited. And I flew to, Springfield from Denver. My niece picked me up at the airport. I got to the inpatient palliative care, and he was hanging on. And I love that you just validated the 5 things, because I just was kissing his forehead, telling him, I love you. And
yes.
Thank you. You did a good job.
Yes.
You did a good job. And he groaned, and I felt like he was acknowledging.
Yes.
He couldn't make words, but he was like, oh, like that. And I just felt, and
it was landing.
And I just rubbed his heart. And then within about 15 minutes, he left. But then he came back in his body. I don't know if you've seen that, but he left. He took you could feel it was like his last breath, and then he went, like he came back online.
Yep.
It was kind of freaky, to be honest.
Right.
And also I talked too much, so I was sort of already talking over him.
Yeah.
And he came back in and he goes, take care of your mother.
Wow.
which was hard to understand. That's what we all decided. That's what he said. Because that makes sense.
Yes.
And maybe he said, take care of each other. I don't know. But that just validated those 5 things.
Yes.
Because my intuition was just wanted. And then I got like overcome with spirit. I called in his mother. I was like, Grandma, come get your baby. I was like in a charismatic church all of a sudden going, I called in Lord Jesus, which I didn't even know.
The veils are very, very thin here.
And I just was like, come get your baby.
Connected.
And it was like a takeover. I felt like where I grew up is there's evangelical churches, but I almost felt like the spirit just took me over. My siblings laugh at me to this day. They were like, who is that? Because I have never been religious. I've not been that. I know we went to Lutheran church, which my dad just loved going to church because he wanted to sing in the choir. But anyway, thank you for letting me share that. That felt, and thank you for validating some of those 5 things. So I love you. Thank you.
For being it's okay for you to go.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
We're going to look after each other.
We're going to look after each other. Thank you. That's a beautiful gift to give anyone who's maybe
and I also, a sort of a refinement from words or mantras is hold them as a field. It's not just a one-time thing. Just really hold the presence and the awareness of each of those.
Okay.
Say them out loud, but then also hold.
Yeah, might be good to write them down for me. Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
And that was I loved what you shared about, when we heal ourselves, we heal others. Like with this woman that let go when this man who's in several rooms away processed something, he helped her at some energetic level.
Yes,
it's so beautiful.
That's right. We think about miracles as, all of a sudden this person doesn't have to die, right? Yeah. Because there's a dichotomy again, life versus death. We die, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, for whatever reason, the life is extended. I mean, Anita Moorjani talks about having come back from death.
The near-death experience?
Yeah.
I watch those on YouTube all the time.
Yeah. And to serve, right?
Oh, wait. What did I miss? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, she came back to serve. All her lymphoma went away and so on and so forth. I mean, when we think about miracles, we think that's the only miracle that there is. But there are so many miraculous connections that are made if we would only notice them, register them, and celebrate them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
I was thinking earlier when we were talking about triggers and stuff, and I do a lot of box breathings, reset the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
And I meant to say that earlier in case if you start getting a trigger takeover, one of the best things you can do is just slow down your breath and tell the body everything's okay. Yeah. I like to put a hand on my heart and on and near wherever the adrenals are, I guess. I just sort of like integrate heart with the fear response, the fight, flight, freeze with the all is love, and take this box breathing and just breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4.
Yeah, it's so important to teach that every single podcast that you do, to remind people, right? Yeah. Breathing is so fundamental.
And sipping a nice warm tea.
Yes, and maybe you and I are eating tangerines and really tasting.
Being in the moment. Well, that really got my attention. A little bit sour.
Yeah, wow. And the juice just sloshing around, just bursting out of there like it was just waiting.
What a gift from this tree.
She
gave her fruit.
Yes.
Oh.
I studied after med school. I went to India for several months, and studied with an Ayurvedic teacher. I'm not an Ayurvedic physician. I haven't gone through the complete formal training. I wanted to know enough to really deeply integrate into the Western medical model because I was going to see patients. And my teacher said a few things to me that I use as mantras. One of them, he said, when the body's at rest, the mind is calm and alert. And within a calm and alert mind, one can see divinity within oneself and all others. And so it felt to me that the algorithm is take care of the body. So when you taught breath, you're actually connecting the fear in the mind, in the thoughts, back to the body with breath, moving downward, right, in an exhale. And you can even play, if you can, of course, when we're very anxious, our breathing is pretty shallow and we're up here at the top of our lungs. We're not really oxygenating very well, but, give yourself a break and just be super tender. And when you can, the box breath is beautiful. And an extension of that box breath is making the exhales longer than the inhales.
Okay, so trapezoid.
So
let's do, inhale 4, hold for 4, but then exhale for like 6 or 7.
Or 8.
Or 8, double.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ooh, okay.
As long as you can. And then you can, a little game you can even play if your body allows this, because remember that exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system of relaxation. The heart rate goes down. It's also the nervous system associated with digestion.
Rest and digest.
Right, we're supporting the vagus. So you can play a little game, and I'll do this with you, Nancy, which is, after any breath at all, allow yourself to exhale through your nose or mouth, however you want to do it, and exhale for as long as you can. Until you're completely empty. And now just relax your belly and feel yourself fill with breath without having to try. So when you're at the doctor's, and when I was in a family medicine clinic and people would come, I would start with exhale and then inhale. Because an inhale activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is the action-based, the adrenaline, as opposed to the acetylcholine. So when we just let ourselves fill and sort of take an active deep breath, we remain in relaxation, and then we can exhale all the way again. And when you stop for a still moment and then let yourself fill, say thank you to yourself.
Thank you to myself.
Silently. Yeah.
Shh, I said it out loud.
So it's really sweet.
And I love that. Thank you for telling me about this. I'm gonna share it differently. And I like that. Allow the breath to come in,
fill yourself.
Not forcing it to come in.
That's right. Don't work on it, right? And this is, I think in the last podcast, we talked about allowing unfolding versus the deficit mindset of I have to do this. I have to work on myself. I have to take a very deep breath. And instead of that, what if we start with this exhale? Let the breath fill us naturally and feel the thank you every time it comes in.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you out loud.
Yeah.
Also.
And there's so many ways, other ways in which we can take care of our bodies in states of stress.
Yeah.
Because, I used to call this Dr. K's high five. So if I, think about the palm and think about the 5 fingers, and I think about this, the thumb as this, you can't do without rest. Deep rest, sleep. Sleep if possible, and if sleep isn't possible, just rest. When the body is at rest, the mind is calm and alert. And within a calm and alert mind, one can see divinity within oneself and all others. And so start with working with rest and sleep. I'm now wearing this watch, this Garmin watch. I'm not advertising it, but there's any number, Oura rings, whatever, these days that track sleep. It's actually been very useful for me. I got a sleep score of 86 last night. I go, yeah, that's pretty good.
I need to work on my sleep hygiene.
And I have something to say to you about that. Because the moment we think I need to work on my sleep hygiene, you're activating the survival brain, which then hijacks the wise mind that is able to heal.
Okay.
So instead...
Could I reframe it? Yeah.
Instead, just visualize yourself dropping off to sleep, the feeling of your sheets, the feeling of your pillow, the darkness of your room, and then waking up from dreams or not knowing what happened during the night. Just visualize that.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Yeah, because that engages the prefrontal cortex. I got that from a woman that I'm working with or have worked with called Tessa, Carolyn, who does, it's called rapid resolution therapy. And this is something I'm learning again about how not to activate the survival mind, especially at night.
This is wonderful because my recovery work is so much about relearning and getting away from all my survival traits.
Yes.
And so, getting out of that anxiety.
That tug of war.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. And so visualize what you do want.
What you do and what you do love.
What you do love and enjoy.
And Rick Hanson says in the neurobiology of happiness, the Buddha's brain, says when we register positive things, like good feelings, can be very subtle, like, oh, I'm really liking the feeling of the cushion against my back, and I register that instead of just bypassing it rapidly and register for 20 seconds. These kinds of things, or visualizing what how we want to feel, right? Actually visualizing as if we went through that, a good night's sleep. It engages our neuroplastic brain. We change the brain towards well-being. We keep doing that, right? The celebratory, joyful brain. So celebrate sleep. The second thing, if we're just looking at the body, because we looked at the breath, which connects the mind to the body. So here we're looking at the body. The second thing is hydration.
And this is the Dr. K high five.
This is the Dr. K high five
sleep,
in order. The
sleep on the thumb.
The priority.
Index finger.
Hydration. Like really good hydration. We live in a desert, right? And it's amazing how often we don't hydrate well. And often, too, think about, am I low on electrolytes? Because if all we're doing is drinking water and we're dehydrated, we actually can't hang on to it. We pee it out because it's hypotonic.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that's hydration. The third thing is digestion. You notice I'm not saying nutrition. I'm not, because that, again, activates, should I eat maitake or shiitake mushrooms today?
The whole shooting.
Right.
We're shooting all over ourselves.
We're shitting all over ourselves.
Shooting.
And, from an Ayurvedic perspective, you're not going to be able to digest the foods that I digest, Nancy. We each have our own sort of complex biomic makeup where some things are better for us. And a simple start there with digestion is, okay, I'm eating this oatmeal. I was really called to eat oatmeal this morning. And I'm always testing. After I eat my oatmeal or after I eat something, 1 or 2 hours later, do I feel alive and active, energized and peaceful? Or do I feel, on one hand, sluggish, or do I feel irritable? Right? I often notice when I'm eating really spicy foods, I'm cranky and harsh and critical. So just notice, or, am I really overly sluggish? Note that at night, is good for us to feel sluggish. That's the time we want to feel sluggish, because then we'll act on that impulse to start moving and just slowing down and moving towards bed. So digestion is so important. The fourth one is elimination. And how we eliminate is so, so important. And that, so much to say about that. I love doing little Ayurvedic retreats. I've done that. It's stopped now because that program ended for 20 years with med students, with seniors coming from all over the country, really teaching them how to care for their body experientially. And the fifth one is play.
Yes.
Active play.
Yes.
What we're doing and moving about, wiggling.
Let's high five.
That's it. Let's high five.
Yeah, that feels good.
Right?
I love it.
And that when we take care of the body, then the body can actually rest. Be in a restful, right? We can rest into the ground of our being. Joy arises naturally. And then no matter what's going on, for instance, this stressful thing I was dealing with this week.
With the DEA?
With the DEA, my application and being asked questions, I just going, like early activation around authority, right? Are they going to beat the shit out of me? I've got an impeccable record. I've done nothing wrong. But even just being asked questions was frightening. But in the midst of stress, if we take care of ourselves and focus on getting grounded, there is an opportunity for joy to arise. And if we had to think about the brain, the survival brain stops hijacking the prefrontal cortex, which has this huge, open, wise capacity for holding the everything.
And I've seen it in myself when I don't, especially number one, which is rest, right?
Right.
And then when I don't get enough rest, man, everything gets derailed. I decompensate and I'm not my best self and I have to make amends to people when I act out because I am less resourced or I'm more apt to get triggered. So thank you for that. Yeah, let's remember the high five. And I wanted to, as we ended part one, we were talking about self-compassion.
Yes.
And self-love and being able, like sort of what you alluded to earlier, when we can see the divine in ourselves, we can see the divine in others, when we can have compassion for ourselves, we have compassion for others, and we recognize that's not their authentic self. They are being triggered. You know, it's hard to, not to say you have to do other people's work for them, but it does help me to go, oh, I know when I'm acting like that, I'm really scared. You know, like sometimes anger, we know anger is a secondary emotion to fear. But anyway, compassion. And you said you had a poem that might relate to that? Or is that related to
It is.
Self-compassion?
It is.
From Thich Nhat Hanh?
That Thich Nhat Hanh. I think that the context last time, in the last podcast, you were talking about, wow, I can be this, this, and I can feel that.
Oh, right. I was doing psychedelic trauma therapy, and I was myself and my mom.
And your mom.
At the same time.
At the same time. And so this, whether in prayer or therapy or contemplation or, nature or psychedelic work or whatever it is, when we get to experience that expansive state, it's deeply inclusive. And it is just such a source of joy that just permeates everything, right?
Yeah.
So I love this poem called Please Call Me by My True Names by Thich Nhat Hanh. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow, even today. I'm still arriving. Look deeply. Every second I'm arriving to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry. Here's the and, Nancy. To fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am a mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am a frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I'm also the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people, dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the 4 oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion.
Oh, boy. It's all happening at once. It's all happening at once.
Yeah, just really take that in.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Feel the nourishment
Mm-hmm.
in your body. Perhaps there was comfort in the voice reading it. Perhaps there was comfort in the words. Perhaps you found yourself somewhere in there. It's a poem that you get to breathe with. Nothing to force, right? We don't have to be anywhere where we're not. That is not what this is about. The door to compassion allows us to be just where we are, whereas like angels in the background, everything is waiting for us.
I love that. Like angels in the background. When I meditate, my spirit guides, and I am very inclusive in my writings with higher power, because it's like I pray to God, to my guides, to my angels, to the one, the many, all that is love. And almost every kind of automated writing is like, we're always here. It's just a matter of how do I want to be in contact. I think that would be a nice thing for me to, because I have a bad habit, not a bad habit, let's not judge. I've had a little habit here of needing kind of jamming the signals. I don't know if it's the tinnitus, the anxiety, the combo platter, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts as I go to sleep, and it's like, I think it'd be better for me to just attune and listen to my spirit guides and myself. But anyway, I thought that'd be a nice kind of bedtime story. That poem would be something that I, rather than put on a podcast, just play that and then do some of that breathing maybe, and see if I could get myself to sleep without having to jam the signals with
Sound.
I know so many of us are addicted to our phones right now. And I know those are negative terms, addiction, but we know through social media and those, we know it's a setup.
I want to be really transparent and say, in the last few weeks, I really came to a head noticing my own addiction to my laptop, whether it was doing, New York Times puzzles or, watching my favorite shows, happens to be Call the Midwife, which is all about love, or, looking at jeans or looking at online thrift stores, right? Or whatever, scrolling through Amazon. In the last few weeks, of course, it was all about gifts and blah, blah, blah. And I started to, rather than shaming myself about that, I said, can I make a micro choice and a micro choice to not go there in this moment, but instead just notice that every time I felt bored, every time I felt anxious, every time there was a lag time between something, I noticed myself just opening the computer and going there. And then that micro choice of, I'm going to not do it. At the beginning, it was hard. The craving was intense because it had become a habit. And every time I made a micro choice that increased my self-presence, I lauded myself. I said, way to go.
Yay.
I celebrated. And it's amazing how also, going to sleep, for myself, other people may be different. If I have a lot of sound before I go to sleep, I become pretty activated, even if it's a beautiful meditation, even if it's yoga nidra. Some people love the yoga nidra, going to sleep, but for me, it's just too activating. So I noticed that just melatonin is helpful. I sit on my bed and just notice what's happening, and very soon I start to feel sleepy. And sometimes I don't, right? Sometimes there are those nights where something wants to come in or I'm just restless. And I take the attitude, it's okay. It's okay. I love you. Yeah. And this little mantra came through me, maybe it's been a year, which was, no matter what, thank you. So I just say thank you.
No matter what.
No matter what, thank you. So I just say thank you to myself all the time, if any time I remember. And I love you. I love you.
I love that.
And if I have pain in my body, I'll just go to the pain, touch it, and go, I love you. Right here. I'm sorry you hurt. I try to work with myself like parts of me are tender 5-year-olds, right? Because I talked about the kindergarten metaphor last time,
right? And I want to talk
innocence.
The innocence, and I want to, and the look at the time flies when we're having fun. I want to make space for some applications of cultivating joy.
Yes,
some things to do, because it's like we say, it's so hard. Like, don't do that, but here's something to do. And the thing that hit me, 2 things, 3, I don't know. One of them was that, and I am going to put a lot of notes in the show notes, a lot of links, because you've mentioned a lot of different names and resources, and you have that kind of mind. You have this very scholarly, capable mind of so many things. You also have this highly spiritual aspect, which is so delightful when it's both. Like, it seems like a lot of times it's, you got to sacrifice intellect for spirituality, but you can have it all. You have it all. So you get to choose what's important to you. And you were just saying with excitement as we went to refresh and freshen our tea, you said, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm called to do. And
yes.
That is, cultivating joy.
Cultivating joy. Yeah. Just really using everything we've got. I mean, there's just this endless toolbox. I think I said this in my last... I'd love to do this interactively. Like,
okay,
like ask me something. Ask me, because I can approach this. For instance, I can continue with the body and approach this from the Ayurvedic perspective of how to play with our senses, right? With sound and with.
I have a question before we go forward. So for people who may not know, and I know only a little bit about Ayurvedic, what does it mean, the term Ayurvedic? What is that kind of practice?
Ayurvedic medicine came out of the Vedic cultures of India. Veda means way and Ayur is health. So that's really it. It's just the way of health.
Okay.
And so it's like Chinese medicine, a couple 1,000-year-old system of understanding how the body functions together, so that it's all together.
It's
right?
a very holistic approach.
Yeah, that's the simplest thing. And if I had to say, while the definition of health in Ayurveda talks about, this imbalance, that imbalance, blah, 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 what it essentially comes down to is what Dick Schwartz talks about in IFS, which is the self-presence that is capable of adaptation to life as it shows up. So
being really present.
With being really present. So I used to say, and I still say sometimes to my patients, that to the extent to which you can have cancer or you can have COPD and heart disease and heart failure and whatever else, right? Arthritis, and you're adapting to that, doing everything you can for that, you're healthy, right? So it removes from this dichotomy of the deficit-based medicine, right?
Yeah.
Of there's something wrong with you. I have to say that one of the things that my father said to me, especially after he passed away, some of the spirit guidance was, Rohini, everybody's got something.
That's right.
Right? Don't take it personally. We all have something to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And
so to be healthy within that. So then, so if I love using Ayurvedic approaches, like just an understanding of the body. I am less adept at herbs or the other treatments, right? But I love using the understanding of how my senses connect to my body, to awareness, and to health and healing, right? There's this, we talked about this Dr. K's high five, right?
Yeah.
At the kind of this gross body level, you moved into breath, which is this subtler level. Then Ayurveda says there's a even subtler layer of conditioned mind, but the conditioned mind is also all of the senses and the sensations of the body and emotions. And then even subtler than that is awareness and knowing. And you have spoken with me about MDMA journeys and about psilocybin, and you enter this field of knowing, or even when your father passed away, you just went into this channeled knowing space, very subtle. And the most subtle state of all, Ayurveda says, is this layer of bliss and openness. Pure joy.
I feel that when I meditate. And
yes.
I also had some EMDR and brain spotting that helped me. She would get me to we would do an activation spot, but we also did a resource spot on the brain spotting.
Yep.
And when I call it the G spot, the God spot, because it's not orgasmic, but it's transcendent. And I can look at it. It is, because I could look at the darkest things that, where I was victimized, and it was so manageable. It was like, well, that happened. It was so, just that happened.
Now you can. Right?
But I mean, I can still get activated back there. But when we talk about bliss, I would love to talk about cultivating joy. And is there a difference between joy and bliss, or do we need to get into nomenclature? I was just curious about that.
I think it's this incredible continuum, which can just include peace and ease. Right? Even if you're not laughing, there's sort of a sense of readiness and these layers that I'm talking about, they're not separate. Even though it seems, I know you're pointing in one direction and the activation's down here.
Right, just for me.
For you.
Yeah, that's just my spots.
But it's useful to say, okay, they're kind of far away from each other. I get to go far away into my resource and not so close to something that hurts, right? That's helpful. And
then I dip a paintbrush mentally. And I
connect.
And I bring the dark into the light, and it just and vice versa.
And exactly
integration back to our integration.
Back to our integration. If we really had to just linger there for a moment, since you said this is the podcast of deflection, or what did you say?
Tangent. Welcome to Traumedy, the Tangent podcast.
That you wanted to know, one of the skills that I absolutely love that I have used for years which is why I brought my crayons.
Oh, good.
If I have a feeling coming up, I'll pick up a crayon. By the way, this is not an advertisement for Crayola, but
or Garmin watches.
But these are the absolute best crayons to soothe the nervous system. They're called Crayola Twistables. Slick sticks, right? Slick sticks. They are really strong, and you can play with it here on my piece of paper.
Of course, I've got a purple one. If anybody that knows me, I think
you can go as dark as you like. They are so soft.
Oh.
And what I do is, I'll show you, is you can play. You can just start anywhere. It doesn't have to be a shape. I will draw out my feeling, and my feelings do not have any shape. For instance, if I'm really stressed.
That does, by the way, I just want to validate that it's got a nice flow. It just feels smooth.
And right in this moment, my body's feeling really open. So I might just have a very light touch and do this, or just draw, just create some space. And when I'm really stressed, I'll often take black. And I'll go, da, 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 because that's what my nervous system is feeling like. I'm just representing my nervous system.
And that attunes with you because you see it outside and you get to...
Yeah. I attune. And then, but there's an important step,
right,
like these mantras, right, with people who are dying. I always have a yellow marker because I draw on white paper. And I always surround the feeling with a golden light of awareness. I just color all the way around it so that every feeling, I've got books and books of my feelings. I have no idea what the feelings are, but they're all surrounded by the golden light of awareness. As I said, the angels are always like as if there was this, everything's waiting for you, right? You're not, that feeling is never alone. It is because your golden light of awareness is all around it. Okay.
I love this. I love it. I love it.
So we can't think of all these layers as being so separate. They are all intertwined with each other. Inspiration that's coming from a bliss layer can just filter down into the body. You never know when that happens. It's when you suddenly feel happy and you don't know why. Yeah. You suddenly feel relaxed and you go, oh, I didn't realize I was so anxious, right? Something is coming from somewhere, and it's these incredible layers. And so if we look at that third layer, since we talked about the body, we talked about breath, this third layer of conditioned mind, this is sort of our program, our activations, what we think we know, right? All this is a whole other discussion, right? But these programs that we developed around feeling somehow unsafe when we were kids, and we developed some sort of a mental process to work with what happened and make sure that doesn't happen to us again.
Some of our survival traits.
Our survival traits, right? I mean, and we think they're so important, right? But you think, oh, but I'm in tune with everything that's sad. You're not. You're in tune with like my daughter is, with zucchini that I forced her to eat with good intentions, and she threw it up, so she hates zucchini. I did that.
Confession, I like you held your hand up.
Yeah, but, there's truly horrible tastes in the world, and she'd go, okay, that's all right, whatever.
Well, because I teach my son, I go, hey, Nathaniel, it's not the strong who survive, it's the adaptable. And I'm trying to teach him, like, what if you're on an island and all there is zucchini? You know what I mean? Like,
but you can't force it.
No, well, I will pay him sometimes to taste something. That's really good. I have. Just taste it. Just so at least you know what you're rejecting.
I'll give you a vacation in Hawaii if you'll have some salmon.
Of course, I'm in veganuary, so I'm not even eating the salmon right now. But anyway, okay. Here we go.
So
I really went off on a tangent there.
No, I liked it very, very much, because that's joy just comes in, right?
So there's tastes.
So there's this childhood program.
Okay.
Right? Things that we pay attention to, and Michael Singer talks brilliantly about this in The Untethered Soul. It's a childhood program based on survival, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the conditioned mind. These are our programs, how we react to certain and respond to certain things in life. And we have at the disposal of this mind our senses, right? Vision, hearing.
If we're typical or whatever.
Right. Touch. Smell. and taste. So Ayurveda says, and this is coming back to stress and how, there's so much more that I can say about this, and we might do this again. But if you're in stress, the senses of smell and taste are associated with the earth and water elements of our body. They're grounding. Okay. So if you're stressed, drinking some warm liquids, right, as you're doing, although you're not stressed, but drinking warm liquids throughout the day is never a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then eating something that tastes good to you, that is nourishing and easy to digest, can really ground your body. One of the things that I noticed that I did in these days that were so stressful to me this week, I noticed that I didn't eat. So I got more and more and more ungrounded in my fear. Whereas when I stopped to actually eat something nourishing, I felt a lot better. I felt safer in my body. I felt stronger and more nourishing, right? And then the hope that Thich Nhat Hanh talks about. There can be pain and there can be hope.
And so we're saying you could go proactive. You don't have to wait till you're like, I feel like eating.
Right.
You're just like, I know you were saying we don't want to force it, but it's like, if you have to be your own loving parent and feed the baby.
Feed the baby.
Feed the inner child that is scared and say, you're okay, but you need to eat.
Yes.
And then the cycle, can help create that state of rest and digest.
Yeah.
And I know, I think somebody told me, an Ayurvedic-ish person was telling me that I need to eat a lot of stews.
Yep.
And I love stews.
Yep.
I love a crock pot full of potatoes and carrots and
yum, yum, yum.
And I do mostly plant-based foods, and I'm still working on making sure I get plenty of grounding because I guess I have a lot of fire. I can be a little feisty. I do have a criminal record. Not bragging, not complaining, just what is.
We can laugh about it.
You have to laugh. It's the dramedy. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
So, yeah, I mean, and do you use humor when you're cultivating joy?
Well, I teach laughing yoga, right?
Oh, yes.
So there is this element of actually, this idea of laughing yoga came from Madan Katoria in India, who was, I think, a cardiologist. Anyway, he was a specialist of some kind, an internist. And he said, people can get better by laughing. He created these laughing clubs where you don't need a reason to laugh. So, if we really want a little tool, you're driving along, you feel a little bit of a cold or something coming on, just start going, ha, 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 ha. Even if you feel weird.
Yeah, you're in your car. That's why you're saying.
Don't have to, you're just hearing a ha, 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 ha. And you'll notice that within a minute or so, that your brain will kick in and the mirth will kick in. You'll start laughing for no reason. And if you can keep laughing
Start the cycle.
For 3 minutes, you've really helped your immune system. And there's been plenty of tiny little colds that have stopped on the way when I used laughter. But anyway.
And I got certified in therapeutic humor. I spent a 3-year certification program with the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor.
Cool.
And there are peer-reviewed studies that show that you raise your NK cells when you laugh.
Natural killer cells.
Killer cells that are scanning your body for viruses, cancer cells, anomalies. So, make humor a higher priority in your day. And this
Norman Cousins, right?
Norman Cousins, 1979.
I mean,
The Anatomy of an Illness. That's where I first studied this, and it's given me so much more meaning as a comedian and a nurse. Right. It's really merged my healing modalities. But I like that. Like we were talking about, you can fake it till you make it with, eat even though you're not hungry, laugh even though you're scared. Like in our culture, a car is such a safe sanctuary. I mean, it's a good place to scream or roar like a lion, or laugh like a ha 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 ho 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 he he he. We did some laughing yoga.
You can do all of that, or you can just smile. Just a tiny bit.
I've heard that releases endogenous morphine, endorphins.
Endorphins, right? And it's so sweet. Yeah. Just even if you were to smile, right?
Which is a painkiller. If you notice, a smile is so much like a grimace. So like if you're in pain and you grimace, it actually is the similar muscles that are releasing a self-medication.
And you're going in the car, sitting somewhere, just for a touch, just reposition yourself, reposture your body, and open your chest just a tiny bit, right? These are the micro choices that we're making.
Yeah.
And we celebrate every tiny micro choice that we make. It can be as simple, even if we don't have to laugh to feel joy. You can feel, if you're somebody who's very kinesthetic, you can touch something that feels really soft to you and register how sweet it feels, right?
Yes.
If, in fact, the principle of cultivating joy is this non-duality, bringing everything together into the self, a second principle that I mentioned was this attachment and attunement that we show to ourselves. This word, which is incredibly important to me in the cultivation of joy, which is non-self-abandonment.
Yes.
That always know that the innocence is always there to be held, to be touched, to be loved. And that, from the last podcast, even if we don't know how to love ourselves, to put our hand on our heart with tenderness and to say, I don't know how to love you right now, but I want to.
Yeah.
And you will be taught.
Thank you so much.
Joy is a complete continuum. And Rumi says, close your eyes, fall in love, and stay there. And this is also the referring to the capacity of the mind in a rested, grounded space, that it will unfold on its own. Healing unfolds on its own. It's non-linear. And, my Ayurvedic teacher used to say to me, you take one step towards God, God will take 2 steps towards you. So, of course, we make some effort. We do make effort, like all of my micro choices, and lauding them, that's effort. But then life comes forward to meet you in a miraculous way. I look at blessings and miracles all the time, and I register them.
This all resonates with me. Thank you so much, because I know this. I know this on so many levels. Like, there's angels ready to help you, but they are, like, I will say, they're not codependent like I am, or I try to force healing on people, or I have in the past, which I'm trying not to do. I'm trying to wait.
It's a hilarious image.
But really, I've tried to heal my mother, who didn't. She wanted to cope the way she coped. She wanted to stick to her guns with her survival traits, and that's her choice. And I wanted her to love the way I wanted to be loved, right? But anyway, point is, I've been told we just have to ask, like you're saying, I want to, and I do. I ask my higher power, for help, and I get help. And so I just want to put that out there. It is a simple request.
It is a simple request.
And the universe loves co-creating with us.
So loves. I mean,
and feeling that good feeling. I've got to work on that too. When I have an arduous task, I'm trying to reframe the word work into plark or play work. I don't know. I want to start feeling the aliveness I feel when I edit this podcast. Like you were saying, that can be an arduous task, and it can be, but I love it because I want to get the message out, and I want to help people, and I love hearing you again.
And if, thank you, love. And if you are editing with self-energy, right, with curiosity and compassion, all of those qualities, which are so expansive, then it can be so joyful. And we haven't even talked about creativity, that, in fact, in a space of joy, we are very creative.
Highly creative, because we are one with the Creator.
Yeah.
And that is one thing Ram Dass said that I loved, which is, are you identifying with that which is already manifested or the manifestor?
Choices are powerful. Choices are activations of self-energy. That's the power of our self-energy. It's so sweet. This is hilarious. He always said, I should stop trying to convert people. It reminded me of my favorite Halloween costume. Did I tell you about that?
No.
I'm a heart attack. So I have this black cloak, and I stole from the cardiac surgery floor this big heart cushion with arms on it, and then I pin it to myself. Then I jump on people and hug them, and I'm a heart attack.
I love reframing heart attack like that. That's so fun. The motto of the podcast is take your pain and play with it.
Yes.
And of course, we're terrified of a heart attack. And it's like, but to make it kind of silly and light and funny. And I was thinking maybe your partner could go as the, what do you call the paddles? The AED, right? Your partner goes, the little jolt from the loving universe of like, wake up and enjoy.
Yeah. And I hope that you have experienced me as this kind of a heart attack. These 2 podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Each of us, in fact, both of us, co-creating together.
Co-creating a fun heart awakening, what's possible. Thank you for co-creating with me.
Thank you for having me. This has been some of the most just precious nectar of time.
I so appreciate you. Thank you for bringing so much and taking all this time.
Oh, such a pleasure.
I want to thank my guest, Rohini Kanniganti. I think I like saying her name, Rohini Kanniganti. It's got a nice flow to it, you know. It's got some nice beats. Just there's so much information here, and links are in the show notes. So check out the show notes. I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for putting together the music loop for Traumedy. And again, I want to thank you, the listener, for sending back the loving frequencies that we're sending you. It's reciprocal, and I feel that co-healing experience. I'm doing a little dance around my microphone right now when I'm saying this. It's a little reciprocal dance with old Nance. 4 a.m, by the way, because I had to write a 4-hour email that I'm not going to send, and I don't need to talk about that. If you hear fatigue in my voice, it's very, very early in the morning, and I'm going to go to bed. I know the number one thing Rohini talked about was sleep. So tonight I'm going to go to sleep before the sun comes up. That's my mission. Yeah, hope you have a great rest. And no matter what, keep laughing. Tune in again next Tuesday. Every Tuesday, it's Traumedy Tuesday.